Hey everyone, it's Amy from thecrazycraftlady.com. I'm back today with more dollar store Christmas crafting inspiration. Say that 10 times fast. Dollar store Christmas crafting inspiration. Okay. Today we're going to be working with these little ornament door hangers. So Dollar Tree has lots of different styles of door hangers, different shapes, and basically it's just like this heavy duty cardboard thing. I've got it in this ornament shape. It comes with a nice little cute little metal topper as well. They're really cute on their own. I'm just not like a very bright color holiday decorator person. I kind of like my neutral colors and my farmhouse style. So we're gonna just flip these over and we're gonna decorate the back side of them in my own personal style. I'm gonna do it 3 different ways, and then I'm gonna stick these on actually my Christmas tree. So I'm really enjoying the idea lately of layering my Christmas ornaments with oversized jumbo ornaments, as well as regular size ornaments and garlands as well. So, like I said, we're gonna do this 3 different ways. Let's get making. All right, so I started with my first door hanger, and the first thing that you wanna do is just cut off that tag and then remove that little metal piece because you're gonna wanna save that to reuse it. Now, don't do it the way that I did it on this first one. I just ripped it off with my fingers, and I actually sliced my finger pretty good, so I had to stop and like go do first aid because I was bleeding. So use like a knife or some like a sharp like a flat edge to try to like pry it off. I'll show you that on the next one, but yeah, don't use your fingers. Be very careful because that metal can be sharp. So then I just flipped the door hanger over and I came in with my Waverly antique wax. You could probably just use brown paint as well, but I've just kind of been on this antique wax kick lately. I've made some like stained wood ornaments and other things with it. So it was on my craft desk, so that's what I used. So I just came in with like a flat 1-inch brush, and I just kind of brushed back and forth to kind of distress the cardboard hanger a little bit to give it more of a wood feel and not so cardboard-like. And then I came in with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Mineral. This is like my go-to light gray chalk paint because it's the perfect warm, neutral gray. And I just kind of filled in any spots between the brown to kind of add another like layer, another dimension of texture to make it look more weathered. And then my final coat was Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory, which is more of an off-white. It's not a bright white, but I just came in with more of a dry brush technique back and forth. You know, it took a little while, but you know, don't load up too much paint at any given time, and then add as much or as little white paint as you want. I didn't do a ton of white paint. You could probably do a little bit more if you want this to look more shiplap, but this ended up looking really, really rustic, and I'm happy with it. And then I wanted to move on to my next step quickly, so I took out my blow dryer, which gets more use in my craft room than it does on my hair, but that's a different story because it just speeds up the drying, and chalk paint dries really fast anyway. And then you just want to grab a straight edge. I just used like an extra folder that was lying around and a skinny black marker to draw like horizontal lines. Like I didn't make mine evenly spaced. I wanted it to look like a little bit more, I guess, rustic. But yeah, so just trace those lines and then come in with Waverly black paint, chalk paint in the color Ink, or you could use really any black paint. It really doesn't matter. And use like the finest point paintbrush that you have and paint over lightly those drawn on lines that you drew on with the marker. And so you just have to keep dipping your paintbrush frequently to pick up more paint and fill in that line. But you can make these black lines as thick or as thin as you want. So I'll speed this up and show you that process. So now it looks kind of like planked wood. And then I came back and I grabbed my little metal topper that gave me such a hard time earlier, and I very carefully removed all the glue and like that cardboard that it came off with it. It's just like almost like rubbery hot glue, so it just kind of peels away. And then I reapplied it with my hot glue gun back to the top of the little ornament. Just be careful because the metal gets kind of hot with the hot glue, so just press it in place very quickly. And then I like to cover the back of my door hangers when I use the back of them, just to make it feel a little bit more polished and finished off. So I just took like a sheet of glitter cardstock. It's like scrapbook paper from the scrapbook aisle at the craft store. You can use like literally whatever kind of scrapbook paper you want. And I ended up just cutting out the tracing of the ornament. And then I just came in with my Mod Podge and I gave everything a quick coat. I'll show you on the next ornament. I actually ended up regretting not peeling all of that paper away, that like the green Christmas paper, because it like made it more difficult for the Mod Podge to stick. So if I were you, I would peel away all that paper and then apply the Mod Podge and then smooth your glitter cardstock or whatever cardstock you have onto the back of the ornament. So that way it's just nice and finished on both sides. And then I came in with these like greenery pipe cleaner things from the dollar store. They're used for like tying garlands and stuff. So I grabbed like 5 of them and I just twisted them together at random intervals. And then I closed the loop, so to speak, I guess. And I just made it into like a little wreath shape. Super simple, and you just need 5 little pipe cleaners, super easy to do. And then I grabbed this glitter berry sprig. I think I got this one at Michael's. It was originally $2, but Christmas stuff was 50% off this week, so it was only $1. And I only used 2 little pieces of it. And I just kind of bent the wire to curve it to the shape of the wreath, and then twisted the base of each little stem onto the wreath so it stayed put. And then finally you want to grab some ribbon. So I use like a wide, I think this is like 1.5 inch, and then skinny, which is I think 3/8 inch. So you just cut 2 pieces of each, the skinny and the wide fabric, and then you secure it in the center with another piece of skinny ribbon, and then just trim that away and then fluff up your bow. I am not a professional bow maker, you guys. It's probably my weakest craft skill, so bear with me here. And then I just kind of fluffed it up and I hot glued the wreath in place, just a couple blobs of hot glue on the back of the wreath to stay put onto my ornament hanger, and then hot glue the ribbon in place as well at the bottom. But that's it, super cute, kind of rustic, a little bit more rustic than I normally would do, but I like how it turned out. Okay, ornament number 2, once again, cut off the tag, and here I am using my pen blade to very carefully take off that little metal piece because I didn't feel like cutting myself again, and just very carefully pry that off. You could use like a screwdriver or even a butter knife, you know, whatever you want. So to set that aside and then flip your hanger over, and time to paint. So back with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss, which if you guys have watched any of my other videos, I think I use this chalk paint in every single dollar store craft that I do. It's kind of like a borderline mild obsession. So to make it just look a little bit more finished off, I painted the edges as well, so there would be no cardboard showing after I covered the back with paper as well. So I just gave everything like a good solid coat. This paint covers really well with one coat, so you don't have to wait for it to dry and do a second coat, and it dries really fast as well. So that's probably why I use this paint on so many projects. But once that paint had dried, or while the paint was drying, I should say, I grabbed some nautical jute rope from the Dollar Tree. I use this in a ton of projects as well. And I took 1 packet of rope and I cut 1 full length in half, and then I added another half. So you need 1.5 packets of rope, if that makes sense. So you just tape the 3 pieces of rope together at the top with masking tape so they stay together, and then tape that top of the little rope section to your craft table or your desk or whatever. I feel like this is reminiscent of, remember those friendship bracelets you would make like at summer camp, and like you would tape it to the table as you tied it with, like, you use that thread. Maybe that was just me, I don't know. Okay, I digress. So you just do a simple braid and end up braiding that the full length that you'll need to cover the circumference, diameter. I took high school math. Diameter of the ornament circle. So just measure all the way around the ornament hanger and then make sure your braid is that length. And then just tape it off at the end again and cut the rope. This is really thick rope, so it's kind of tricky to cut, and that's why I have my heavy duty scissors. And then I printed out this Marion Bright graphic, and I will link to that in the comments so you can print off your own free little graphic. But I just printed it off on my home printer, and then I took a pencil and I scribbled back and forth across the back of the paper, covering all the parts where the printer had printed ink on the computer paper. And this is like my go-to image transfer method for like everything. But if you have a Cricut and you want to cut a vinyl decal or like cardstock, you can do really whatever you want. But I just then taped my little image in place so that it wouldn't slide around. And then I took a plain old pen, like a black pen, and I traced an outline of all of those letters so that it would then transfer the pencil lead on the back of the paper onto my ornament hanger, so then I could fill it in with paint. So I'm going to speed this up and show you how I just traced everything really quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And then peel that paper away and then come in with, like, this is I think like a 1/2 inch flat paintbrush and more of my black Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. But you could use black chalkboard paint, black acrylic paint, really anything. And then I like sped this up to like probably 600 times or something because this takes a little while, but I think it's really worth it. And if you don't have a Cricut, you know, this is a great way, or a Silhouette or whatever cutting machine, this is a really great way to be able to do custom lettering on these types of crafts. Okay, so once that was all done and my green and my black paint had completely dried, I came in with some black cardstock scrapbook paper and I did the same thing as I did on the first ornament. I traced it and then I cut it out and then I Mod Podged it all into place. Oh, and as I mentioned before, this time I took the time to peel away all of that paper backing. I think you just get a better like stick with the Mod Podge to your ornament. So I just took my pen blade and I like scraped away paper along the edge of the ornament. I just kind of got a good look there and then I was able to peel it all the way back. It's kind of tricky, but the pen blade or like a razor blade or whatever made it a lot easier. And I got, I would say 90% of the paper off before I gave up and started Mod Podging. Is Mod Podging a verb? I feel like I'm really struggling with math and grammar today, so bear with me guys. Mod Podging, it's now a verb. Okay, and then I just put my little piece of paper in place and that was that. I flipped it over and I put like a heavy stack of books on top of it just for like, I don't know, 20-30 minutes until it dried, just so it'd be nice and smooth. And then that little metal topper again, peeled all that backing away and I hot glued it back into place very carefully because remember that metal will get hot. And then I wanted to redo the taping on my rope braid just so that it would be a little like smaller, I guess, because I didn't want it to poke through when I added the ribbon. So I just retaped it with like a 1/2 width of tape. So I put tape over the end of the ribbon and then I trimmed some of the tape away so not as much would show. You probably, had I been smarter about this, I would have used like clear packing tape, I think, because then it would be easier to hide, right? Instead of the white masking tape, but it worked out. And so then I just laid the ribbon around my ornament and I cut like a 3 or 4 inch piece of this 1 inch check, black and white check ribbon, which I use in a lot of my Christmas crafts. And I just secured the 2 ends of my rope braid together with hot glue. And then I just covered, that way the tape was covered with ribbon. Then just hot glue all the way around the ornament and secure the rope braid into place. And then the final step was for me to just make a figure 8 bow. I mean, I don't know, it's not fancy. You just make like a figure 8 with the ribbon and then cut a smaller length of ribbon to tie everything together in the center. You just secure it in the back with a simple knot. And then you can hot glue your ribbon into place at the top of the ornament and then trim the ends of the bow at a nice angle so everything is finished nicely. And that's it. There is my little ornament hanger on our Christmas tree. And then here we have my third and final ornament project, and here I am carefully removing that metal topper again. I'm getting really good at doing that. And then I just covered the whole back of this ornament with black chalkboard paint. You can use really whatever kind of black paint, chalkboard paint that you have. I just really like black chalkboard paint because it dries with such a nice, soft, matte finish. So it's probably my favorite. And then I just came in with some metallic acrylic craft paint. And for this, I used Deco Art Extreme Sheen Metallic Paint in the color of Champagne Gold, which is probably my favorite gold paint color from this Deco Art, Champagne Gold. And I gave a really nice thick coat to that metal topper. And then I grabbed a tube of these little mini ornaments. I got these at the Dollar Tree. They're just little plastic Christmas bulbs. And I came in with like a flat 1-inch brush and more of my Waverly chalk paint in the color Mineral. And the first couple I had a little bit too much paint on, but really just like a dry brush, like a very tiny amount of paint. I do this on like holiday bells, like plastic gold bells from the dollar store as well. And all you're doing is just kind of taking the shine so these aren't so shiny. I'm not, as a crafter, I know this is probably controversial to say, but I'm not huge on metallics and glitter. It's not my thing. I'm sorry if it's your thing, but I just kind of like to take the shine off stuff and make things look a little bit more worn. So that's what I did with this chalk paint. And so I'll just speed this up and show you guys. I did 4 in a row on the bottom with like hot glue each ornament in place, 4 on the bottom, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1. So it just made a little triangle Christmas tree shape. And then once all of those were hot glued into place, I hot glued that metal hanger topper back onto the ornament. And then I pulled out this holiday, it's like burlap and black buffalo check ribbon. I got it at Michael's this year. And so 2 lengths of the fat ribbon and 2 lengths of the skinny ribbon. Always cut your ends at a 45-degree angle, and then just tie the center of everything together with a simple knot using more skinny ribbon. And double knot that in the back, trim the skinny ribbon, and then kind of just fluff out your bow a little bit before coming in with your hot glue and hot gluing that bow to the top of that top ornament. So I just hot glued it to like the ornament hanger at the very top. And then I just cut like another length of ribbon that I folded in half, and I hot glued it in place at the base of my little ornament tree to look like it had a stem. I don't know, that was like the only thing I could think of to make a stem. I don't know if you could think of anything more creative, but I think it looks kind of cute. And there's my final little ornament hanger on our Christmas tree. I really like this whole like jumbo size ornaments. Even though I don't have a huge tree, I'm really kind of digging this vibe of super large ornaments this year. There you have it, 3 different dollar store ornament door hanger crafts. You could add these to wreaths, you could hang them on shelves, not just in your Christmas tree. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Until next time, happy making. Bye!